Recently I purchased this 10S guitar from 10S Guitars through Reverb. And I just wanted to give people who are interested in these guitars a chance to know my experience and to get a little bit more of a breakdown on the guitar, see what's in it, and to hear some tones. So I hope you enjoy this review. For $459, including shipping, the guitar comes with the following specs. As a one-piece mahogany body and neck, and a natural finish with a contoured heel, joint, and belly cuts for comforts. As a maple cap with a flame maple veneer that is finished with a custom blue fade burst. Ebony fretboard with real mother of pearl inlays. A 24 3/4 scale inch length, 12-inch radius on the fretboard, with a stop bar tailpiece and bridge, and with what I am told are Alnico 5 pickups. One of the questions is, why did I choose a 10S guitar? One of the guitars I really like is a Gibson Les Paul with a blueberry burst fade finish. There's just something about this guitar that really appeals to me, but it's out of my price range. And 10S was able to offer a cheaper alternative with the possibility of getting my finish. Now, I was going to be away from my home for a while without any of my guitars now, and I wasn't going to be able to bring any of my guitars with me. So I thought that I would take a chance on them and see if they would be able to make something for me that would get me by during the time that I was away. So I contacted 10S Guitars through Reverb. I found a guitar that I thought was most like the specs what I wanted, which is this 10FGF 60 style, and I messaged them through the messenger they have on Reverb, and I asked them how much would it cost to create a custom 10F, and if they can do it in the blueberry burst finish. 10S of course said yes. They told me it would take 12 weeks to make the guitar. So I agreed to the purchase for the price that I previously stated, and I sent them a picture of this guitar right here. It's one that I really like, but I want this top with a natural back. So I sent them another picture with that, which is coming up here. And then it was a waiting game. I waited and I waited, and finally at 9 weeks I messaged them and said, hey, we're getting close to the 12 weeks. It's 9 weeks, just want to check on the guitar. And they sent me this picture here. And when I saw this at first, I was a little skeptical at first of if they would be able to get the guitar that I wanted, or even close to it. So if you compare this to the previous picture, while neat, it wasn't exactly what I wanted, but there were some things that I noticed. I noticed the back looked right, and I noticed that we got a mahogany body and we have a proper maple cap on there, so that was good. I responded back asking them to be able to see if they would be able to refinish it, and they obliged. Finally, at week 13, they had refinished the body, which took a while, but they were able to send pictures of it looking like this, which was much better, much closer to the finish that I wanted. Not exactly like it, but close enough that I thought it was good. There's only one problem. As you look here, you'll be able to see there in the bottom, there is a little place where the finish was taken too much, and it was a little bit done, but as you can see from this picture, much better outcome compared to the original one that I wanted. It was good enough. I said, let's continue with this. So after week 13, I was anxiously awaiting the next thing to come, and finally at week 17 is when I got this picture and a couple of others, and I thought it looked pretty good. The guitar, the burst looked a little bit different from the one I sent before, but I think that's just due to the lighting. I noticed they were able to fix the area down below that looked a lot better. Well, there are a couple of things that looking into this, I wish we would have talked about a little more. One of the first things is there's a little poker chip up my controller for the selector switch. That's something that I usually just take off my guitars. I wish we would have talked about it I also wish we would have talked about the pickup ring covers and the knobs. Those are something that I didn't talk about. I would have chose chrome probably, or just something else rather than those gold and the cream. Those are nice. The other thing that stuck out was the tuning keys. So originally when I had looked at all the old Blackie pictures and all the guitar pictures, in which they would say they would make this guitar to the specs of the old Blackie, minus the finish. Each of them had Grover tuners, and I didn't talk about that with them, and it came back with these vintage tuners, which was a little bit odd to me, just because this is a modern guitar, right? We have a finish that's one that's not normal. We have a contoured heel, a belly cut. The shape is a little bit different from the Les Paul. It's a new company, um, and they put on these vintage style tuners. And I was in a little bit of a dilemma. The question was, do I ask them to change it, or do I just have them ship it out? So these weren't things that we've gone over, and it ended up being that I didn't want to wait anymore. The guitar was going to take a while to come out, and I decided that, hey, why don't you just send it out to me? I'll get it, and if I want, I could just change those things when they get to me. So shipping took about 2 weeks, which was surprising. I thought it came really fast. I had to go from China to the United States, and the United States to me, and it came in one of these styrofoam cases that were taped up. Cut it open, and the inside will show a picture in just a second. The car came in great condition, no problems at all. And as we opened it, actually there was several people around me who were there, and a lot of them were like, "Wow, how much did you pay for this? This looks amazing." So the overall first impression was one that's really good. A lot of people were with me, thought it was a really expensive guitar. It looked really good. It had shipped a long ways, and it was out of tune, um, and it was needed to be set up, of course. But the contour heel felt nice. It played pretty well, even though it was quite a bit flat. And then I had a chance to take it back to my room and really get to dive into it and experience it a little bit more. And we'll go over some of the things that I found with the guitar, and we'll learn a little bit more about it. So I was able to get the guitar back to my room and tune it up. The first things I noticed was, one, the strings were kind of dirty and kind of cheap, and they got my hands dirty, so I replaced those. The next thing I noticed that was when I would tune it, specifically the G and B strings, there'd be some spots where I would be turning it, but it wouldn't tune. I thought at first it was just the tuners, right? Because that was something I was concerned about, but it ended up being it was this nut. So the way the nut was cut, it just was binding and catching those strings and not allowing them to flow through. So I eventually made a change. I changed the strings to a new set of strings, and I was able to, with some graphite and some other things, I was able to make it so that the strings actually pass through that, and actually now it holds pretty good tune. So with the nut fixed, it was time to adjust the action. The action was really low. Actually, it was the buzzing at the upper strings, towards the top of the frets 1, 2, and 3 in that area is the E and D strings. So I adjusted that, and then it was time to intonate it. And when the guitar came, it was originally like this, and I went to adjust and intonate it, but I couldn't. The A string and the D string, all the other strings would intonate. I tuned down a half step, E flat being my top string, with and sometimes drop D flat. But when I was trying to intonate it, the A and the D strings were about 10 cents flat from being able to be intonated, which was kind of a bummer. But I was able to find a fix around with that, so I was able actually to flip this bridge around and fix it. So at first I was kind of scared, because I had moved the saddles as far as I could, and so I just eventually took off the bridge, and I was able to flip them and actually I was able to get it intonated. Now the D string is about as far up as you can go, but it is intonated to the tuning that I like right now. So looking closer at the guitar, there's a couple of things that I didn't like in the finish. The first one was this poker chip, this selector label. It just looks cheap to me. The plastic wasn't cut nice, so I wanted to take it off, and so I went to take it off, and actually I couldn't. I was trying hard, and it just took me a while. And finally, after I got it off, there was some adhesive there. That's something I hope that they don't do in the future, as some people like to take those off. Next, there's just several things I'd like to go over about the finish. One, here's that spot that I originally had. I'd taken too much of the finish. So I think they did a pretty good job. You can still see it if you zoom in, but when you kind of go out, it's something that's not very noticeable, and they were able to do a decent job fixing it. Now, if this would have been a regular burst, it would have been noticeable, um, but that's it right there. Next, near the horn of the guitar, when they refinished the guitar, which is there's an area where they taped off too much, so you can see this little slight variation in the finish along that. Well, very small, not a super big deal. It's something that is noticeable and a flaw in the finish. There's several areas of flaws on the natural finish. Actually, there's a couple areas where glue is. Here we have a picture of the neck joint, and we have two areas. If you look closely, kind of where the neck comes, you'll see two areas that are just some glue left over. They got refinished, which is kind of disappointing that someone didn't take the time to look at that area. And then as we flip the body over to another spot, we'll see another area that has some more retained glue. I don't know how it got on there, but it just wasn't removed. I don't think that a body would finish like that. Above that, there's a little spot in the wood that has a little crack in it. I mean, I wish that wasn't there, but that's okay. And then here at the neck, we see again, just they didn't get to sand away all the glue, which is kind of disappointing because mahogany is really great when it's finished, and just kind of ruined that. And then right here, there's an area where it's just some extra wood filler, I guess, because of a spot that was there, which not a deal breaker, but something I wish that wasn't there. We have several spots in the binding that kind of have some marks. Here we see a mark underneath the finish of the binding. That won't rub off. And as we come around the horn, we have the binding's really nice. All of a sudden we get to this area, and it looks just, it's not. It gets to a point where it's not very sharp. It looks like maybe they try to melt the binding there or something like that, but just not very pretty, cosmetic. And as we go around the horn, we kind of see. I think this has to do with how they routed the body. I think we see some of the maple cap there, but then we have some of this something on the binding there. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but you wish that this was a little bit more, just better. You wish that it was a better outcome, that it would look nice and be the way, perfect is what you want. Well, very minor on the back of the neck, there's a very small spot where you got a little blue mark right there. That you just wish wasn't there. It doesn't affect the playing or anything, but no one will ever see it unless you're looking at a guitar, but just a little thing that's there that you wish wasn't. Now I thought the fretboard looked great. The ebony looks just gorgeous, and the frets were actually pretty good, except for one spot, which we'll cover next. But and the inlays, they looked amazing. But there is just one of these mother of pearl inlays that had the smallest little chip there on the right. That I wish it wasn't there. Kind of a shame, because if not, it would have been perfect. The fretboard. I thought the fretwork was actually really good. Once I adjusted the height and set it up, I thought it played really well. I was able to get the buzzing out. I think it was really smooth, except for this very first fret. As you run your fingers up and down the fretboard, everything was smooth, but then as we just look at this first fret, this kind of sticks out a little bit. So they did a really good job on all the frets, nice and smooth. I mean, they like to polish, they played really smooth, but right there, it's just a little sharp and it sticks out a little bit. It's going to need to be adjusted. Just a small detail of something I wish they would have paid attention to, like many of the finish flaws, and that it would have been fixed before sending it to me. One of the things I wish they would have changed was the bridge. So as I took this apart, first it took me a long time to get the actual bridge off. It just was stuck on there for whatever reason. It should come off pretty easily, and the reason that was is because the the pegs which the bridge sits on, they're kind of diverging a little bit, making it pretty hard. And actually, when I went to go set this bridge back down, I could even set it in all the way. The next thing was, some of the saddles, when the bridge is out, just kind of move. It's just a very cheap bridge, and it's something I wish they would have done better. Even though this wasn't a very expensive guitar, you would hope that the bridge would be something that would count on. So next I moved on to the pickup. So I took them out and I wanted to see what powered this guitar. Were they custom-made pickups that 10S did? They weren't really specified. And what I found was I had these two Epiphone pickups, a 57CH and a Hot CH, which are pickups that used to be used in the Epiphone guitars. It was kind of disappointing. Playing with them, they sound okay, they can get you by, but this is definitely something that will probably change to get a better sound. They're not as good as some of the other pickups I've had in the past, and I want to get something that give a little bit more bite to it. Here we see the pickup cavity, how it's carved out. I was kind of disappointed to see there's some, I don't know what it is, some glue or some stuff up in there, but you wish that was a little bit cleaner, even though most people will not see that. And then here's the bridge pickup again. Just has some stuff in it. I don't know what that is. I dig the writing, but the stuff, you wish that you didn't see that in there at all. Here we're looking at the three-way selector switch. That selector seems fine and seems good. I don't think there's any problems with it at all. I would keep it and going to keep it. And then we have the pots that were used. I'll give you a picture, I'll zoom in, but these are Alpha 500K pots. People debate whether the CTS ones are better or these ones, but it looks like they did a good job wiring it. Could potentially, if you want, switch these out, but they seem to work well for me. And with pickups, probably something I will keep for now when I change the pickups. So final thoughts on the guitar. One, this is a good guitar. The way it plays excellent. I think it plays more than what the value is. But there's something more than just playing. You have to have the whole package. There's a saying that's the devil is in the details. And there was just a whole bunch of small things. The bridge, the pickups, being all right and nothing great. But then you just got a whole bunch of flaws in the finishes that are for money would be unacceptable. At the same price range, I could have got an Epiphone Les Paul or an LTD Les Paul with some locking tuners that would have come to me without the finished flaws and probably played just as nice. So I hope 10S takes that to heart and they maybe can put some more QC into their production, some quality control that can limit some of the things like the leftover glue. They could have done the bridge posts a little bit better so they were a better spacing or more parallel for the guitar. That fret could have been adjusted. There's a lot of little small things. And the question is, would I consider buying from these guys again? And I think I would. Only because I think they're going to improve on what they did. The guitar is really nice playing, and I think once I get a nice set of pickups in there and I think it's going to sound and play great. Last thing, I'd just like to give you guys some tones from the guitar that I had. Everything here is recorded on a really simple setup. My MacBook Pro with the guitar going to an Apogee Jam into the computer using Logic Pro X and using the Helix native plugin which I really like. So enjoy.